Why can't I control my own emotions? Is it because my approach is wrong, or is it because my self-cultivation is lacking? Actually, it's neither. It's the emotions themselves that you can't control. To put it another way, your emotions don't even belong to you. This statement may be a bit puzzling, so let's give an analogy. Imagine there's a child who sees his parents arguing and feels extremely angry and frightened. Is that moment's emotion his own or his parents'? You might say it's his own, but if that's the case, why didn't he have those emotions before his parents started arguing? How did they suddenly arise? Let's use another analogy, starting a fire by friction. We know that ancient people used friction to create fire and obtain a flame. Whose flame does it belong to? Is it the wooden stick or the bark or the wooden board? Actually, it belongs to none of them, yet it belongs to all of them. It is a flame produced through mutual friction. The same principle applies to emotions. When people are together, or even when you're alone, as long as there is inner division and conflict within you, as long as there is inconsistency and conflict between you and others, there will inevitably be friction and the fire will ignite. When you become aware of your emotions, you will realize that there is some fixation, some division within you at that point, making it easier to catch fire. So the phenomenon of emotions itself is not under your control, but how you deal with those emotions, how you treat that flame, that part is up to you. Now, let's clarify something. What we fear is not the emotions themselves, but the conflictual words and actions that emotions might trigger. We need to distinguish this. The phenomenon of emotions, whether they come or when they come, we cannot control that because they come from the subconscious. Only when they arise do we become aware that at that point, emotions are generated. However, how can we prevent emotions from triggering impulsive words and actions? That part is something we can work on. In that part, we can practice through two aspects. First, when the fire starts, you need to clearly and distinctly know that it has started, to see that point. Is it possible to see that? It's all happening unconsciously, within the forces of action and reaction, and you are powerless against it. Once you see it, the second point is to know that all your efforts to control and eliminate emotions are actually adding fuel to the fire. So, if you don't want the fire to grow bigger or if you don't want to be controlled by your emotions, don't get involved with them. Don't try to control them, escape from them, eliminate them, or blame others for them. Because all your efforts and actions to forcefully do something will only make the fire burn stronger. So, just observe it here. Hey, after a while, without new energy being injected, it will dissipate, it will extinguish itself. Once it's extinguished, it's over. Of course, as you know, emotions themselves are also a form of energy. So, if you consciously want to make use of this energy, that's also possible. When emotions arise, hey, see them arise, and then use them according to your intention. That's also an option. How can you become internally strong? It seems like you're constantly pulling yourself to go from one shore to another, from a state of easily being triggered and crumbling to a state of calm strength. I understand this desire very well because that feeling of constantly being on fire within oneself is truly exhausting. However, honestly speaking, this is truly an impossible direction to achieve because the moment you try to go from one shore to another, it creates a division within your heart. It cannot bring strength, it only brings the pain and despair of tearing apart. Our mind is like the vast sky, and emotions and states are like clouds in that sky. How could the vast sky let a small cloud escape and create a world without clouds? Therefore, when it comes to psychological healing or inner growth, many people fall into a misconception that they must transform themselves from weak to strong. It's truly a path that leads nowhere because whether you are strong or weak, it's just a feeling. It's like the weather, whether it's windy or rainy at the moment, it's just a weather phenomenon. When it's windy, you can't make it stop, and when it's raining, you can't immediately make it sunny. It's a principle, a law. So, what should we do? We have something called awareness within us, and it can truly come into play at times like these. When you experience a state where you feel incredibly uncomfortable, whether it's a feeling of weakness or loneliness, you can use your awareness to attend to and embrace this feeling. Let this feeling be like an ice cube, melting under the sunlight of awareness. Once it melts, you will return to a new state. It will bring you to a state that is neither strong nor weak, but rather a state full of vitality, where you can be both strong and weak. This state, amidst the blazing fire, is the focal point and challenge of psychological growth. It is the place where you need to exert efforts and cultivate your inner self.